And now it is expected that Republicans will oppose President Obama's latest $950 billion health care reform proposal when they meet for that health care summit, which everyone will be watching closely. That's Thursday. Utah Senator Orrin Hatch wrote an op-ed in today's USA Today urging lawmakers to start from scratch on reform. He favors a more piecemeal approach to change. And you can read that op-ed in the USA Today. We are joined now by the author, Orrin Hatch of Utah, also a member of the Senate Finance and Health Committees, which, of course, wrote both of the Senate health care bills. Senator Hatch, wonderful to have you with us again. We appreciate it. Your USA Today op-ed, start from scratch. Would you literally throw out the document we've got and begin again?
Well, that's right, Aaron. I'm happy to be with you. I actually said what they're going to do is put a coat of paint over a condemned building and then call it a fixed building. I mean, that's just a joke. This is 2,700 pages now. The president's come up with 11 pages to add to it, and he adds another $75 billion on top of the $2.5 trillion that they spend on this bill. And they're unwilling to really go over it on a step-by-step basis. They'd have a lot of Republican support if they would do that. And we have suggested time after time all kinds of ideas that literally could be done, like taking insurance across state lines, getting rid of the junk lawsuits, having the states set up their own health care programs with the help of the federal government, and do it in a way that, well, Utah is not New York, New York's not Utah. They're different demographics. Have them do that. Do all kinds of things that literally would work, but they don't seem to be interested in our ideas, and I think the summit is more or less just another show to try and con the American people into taking that monstrosity bill of theirs.
Do you support providing health insurance to the Americans who currently are uninsured as part of this bill?
Well,
that's a crucial thing, the $30 million.
Yes, we would do that, but the problem is that the costs are astronomical. There's no use kidding about it. We are already spending $2.4 trillion in this country for health care. To add another $2.5 trillion under the guise that you're going to get 30 million people more people into it is just phony. Because there's no way that you can't spend this country blind by doing it, and the American people know it. Plus, to get there, they're going to mandate that people have to buy a government insurance policy. That, to me, is unconstitutional, to force you to buy something you don't want to buy. It'd be the first time in history. And not only that, they want to mandate that, but they also want to penalize you if you don't do it. And they've raised that penalization cost from $750 a person to $2,000. I don't know how American people can put up with this.
Senator Hatch, there is one thing, though, that I'm hoping you can explain, because
Sure.
When we look at it, it does seem, you're going to have a logical explanation to it. Some might say, though, that this is hypocritical on the part of some Republicans, and that is in 2003, you voted for the prescription drug benefit, which at the time, and according to projections now, is the single biggest increase to entitlements since entitlements as we know them were created in the mid-1960s. That was a prescription drug plan. That's all additional spending. You voted for that, and now you won't vote for this.
Well,
how does that make sense?
Well, because it's helped millions and millions of Americans to get their drug costs down and to get drugs to take care of them. But it was more than that. Keep in mind, I've been here 34 years. We have never had a fiscal conservative majority in the United States Senate. We couldn't have done it if we wanted to, because they would not have paid for this. These people have controlled the United States Senate for all these years. When you take 3 to 6 more liberal Republicans to go with the all-liberal Democrats, like I say, we've never really had a fiscal conservative majority to be able to do the things that we're being criticized for not doing. Mm-hmm. I get a big kick out of some of those arguments, because if you look at it, these people have spent us blind all these years. Now they want to add another $2.5 trillion, and they're going to do it by cutting $500 billion out of Medicare. That's $38 trillion in unfunded liability.
But isn't that what we have to do, sir? You're saying they're the party of spending, but it was the Republicans who put forth the biggest package of spending, and now you're saying you don't want cuts to Medicare.
No, that was a bipartisan bill. Don't ever misconstrue that. It took Republicans and Democrats to do it.
54 to 44.
We would have paid for it, but we didn't have the votes to force paying for it. So don't blame Republicans for that.
But the Democrats, sir, would say the same now, that they don't have the votes to pay for it because no Republicans will consider raising taxes, for example.
Well, then let's sit down and go through this on a step-by-step basis. Let's not cut $500 billion out of Medicare. That's $38 trillion in debt. Let's not raise taxes by $500 billion. Let's sit down and work out what we can. It probably will have to be a measured down bill, but let's get that done right, and then we can build from there. these Democrats just want to throw everything at it, and their approach is always a one-size-fits-all federal government approach, ignoring that the states do a much better job than the federal government, and not being willing to let the states do their own job in accordance with their own demographics in their state. I mean, it's really pitiful what we're putting up with, and it's, again, liberal politicians, liberal politics. You know, they're talking about, do you realize that in the president's 11-page proposal, that they are going to put off a lot of these costs till 2018? And frankly,
right.
After he's long gone from office, even assuming he gets reelected twice.
It still seems to me that there is a bit of unfairness, and that all the things you say about the Democrats appear fair, but it is true that the Republicans put forth spending without paying for it. Also, both parties, it would seem, are guilty of spending without paying for it.
Aaron, that's not true. I just got through explaining to you, as much as we wanted to pay for it, as much as we felt that was a very important bill, and it has proven to be, we could not get our friends on the other side to help pay for it. So don't give me that. Republicans, no, true. We had some liberal Republicans who went along with not paying for it. A lot of us would have loved to have paid for it, but we just didn't have the votes to do it.
All right, well, sir, we appreciate you taking the time and answering these questions. As you know, a lot of people have them, and we appreciate it again. Senator Orrin Hatch joining us.
Always nice to be with you.
From Utah. And now, as you can see,